studios have held back artists for far too long. The system is set up to reward the studios and not the artists. In this polarized world, where everything is viewed through a political lens, it used to be entertainment that allowed us to escape. Whether it was a great movie, music, or a favorite entertainer, we always had those mediums to free us from our daily lives. At Creado, we are developing a brand new solution built with the artists in mind, empowering them to deliver original content directly to an engaged audience. Whether you are an investor or you simply want to support our mission, you can become a member today. We are ready to take the next step to bring this to market, but we need your help. Join our mission today at creado.media, and together we will let freedom stream.
How's it going, everybody? This is Alpha. This is the Alpha Warrior Show, and we are on episode 45, and we are still counting away. So really excited about the show I got going on tonight, the conversation that we're going to have. But with that, do a little housekeeping real quick. Some of you are probably wondering, Alpha, we didn't have the 20 minutes of music pre-show. Well, reason it's been a very hectic day. One of my little ones that's not feeling so well, so please keep her in your guys' prayers that she feels a little bit better. And then I was running around with some school stuff. Had the other show that I was doing with Glitch in the Matrix, which was a really interesting show. So if you guys haven't had a chance to ever catch one of those episodes, go to Rumble, search in Glitch in the Matrix. It's with myself, Warhamster, Ron Partain from the Untold History channel. And, we cover a range of topics. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. Tonight, we had some disagreements, but it made for good conversation. We were talking about the unfortunate incident of the Buffalo shooting. So if you guys are wondering, hey, I want to know what Alpha's take on this is, I want to hear him discuss it, tune into that episode. With it, though, I will tell you guys this. For the first time, we were doing the live stream. We were showing the video from that shooting, and I was kind of breaking it down step by step with my experience of understanding ballistics and shootings. And for the very first time, Rumble took down the channel. So whether it was just a coincidence or whether they actually took it down because we were showing that video, I don't know. I'm going to have to look into it. But it's never happened before, so it was kind of suspect. But nonetheless, like I said, we were still able to capture the dialogue that we wanted to share with it. So I do invite you guys to go check that out. The next thing is what happened over the weekend is us here at the Alpha Warrior Show have become an official affiliate with Dr. ZELENKO. So if you guys, you guys have heard me along with many of the other nurses and doctors talking about NAC and quercetin and zinc and ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and how many other words can I say to piss off YouTube right now? You've heard us talking about all that, and we've always, talked about the ZELENKO protocol, and now we're an affiliate of him. So you can go to zstacklife.com/alpha. You can get your discount there as you buy the goodies, and then, like I said, obviously I get kicked back with the commission, and that helps me with my legal fees. So about tonight. There's going to be a lot that's covered, you guys. You're going to hear definitely a one-of-a-kind story. And some of it, is going to probably have parts that, is probably going to shock you, maybe leave you a little uneasy. But in order to understand somebody's testimony, it's not always, story doesn't always begin with the light. Sometimes, there's a dark part of the chapter that you got to get to, and it puts into context of where that person is in their life now. And like I said, the story you're going to hear, movies, books, that kind of stuff has been written about that kind of what this gentleman's going to talk about tonight. And as we talk about that, I will remind you guys, let's move to scripture. Let he without sin cast the first stone. We have all sinned. We have all made mistakes. So remember that as you hear this man give us the testimony of his life and what he experienced, because I'm going to tell you is where this story ends is very, very powerful. What he's doing now, the fight that he's in now, is extremely powerful. What he's doing for this world is very powerful, and that to me is where you judge character. When you're able to be, think about it as a boxing match, because I'm sure we're gonna have this conversation tonight because we both did boxing. When your knee touches the canvas, that hurts. But when your cheek touches the canvas, not every man gets back up after that. And this man did. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my special guest tonight, Mr. Ruben Palomares. Can you hear me, sir?
I could hear you.
All right, perfect. I can hear you too.
Perfect.
So we're going to have a conversation tonight, man. We're going to talk about law enforcement. We're going to talk about your story. And we'll cover, some of the corruption that exists in law enforcement. We both have different takes on that from what we've experienced. But I also want people to understand that this is not a bash on law enforcement. I don't want anybody to come to this channel and think that, because I'm not that way and Ruben's not that way. There's a lot of great men and women that work there that are doing the right thing, and we need to keep those people in our prayers because they keep us safe at night.
Yes.
But you're going to hear a story from Ruben tonight. His story, not a story, his testimony. So with that, Ruben, kind of walk us through, man, what your life was like before you became a cop, what led you down that direction, and the floor is yours. And I'll interject with questions and we'll go from there. But yeah, tell us how it all started, man. Take us to pre-day one.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. I grew up. Well, I came from Mexico when I was about one and a half. That's when they brought me over. But I grew up in LA in a pretty rough environment. Growing up in LA, you're always going to have challenges, but especially someone like me looking super white complected and living in the hood, you're going to have more challenges because people confuse me for a güero all the time. So that right there already started a domino effect of me always having to stand up for myself and establish myself wherever I went. But I also grew up in an environment where I had 10 brothers and sisters, and my dad that raised me, who was my stepdad, he had a lot of drinking problems. So through the drinking and his own problems, he pushed. He did a lot of verbal abuse, physical abuse, and that stuff started actually triggering me also to have a lot of anger issues growing up. I started boxing as a young kid, and that boxing really helped me focus my aggression or anger in the ring, in the gym, in the punching bag, or other opponents. I can go in there and punch opponents, not get in trouble, and it was kind of a good feeling because you're in there and you're releasing a lot of frustration, a lot of stress or anger, whatever the case may be. But then you're also developing a new gift, a talent that you sometimes don't even know that you have it. And through boxing, I started building that confidence in the skills. I started getting good at it. So I started shooting for a goal, and I had just met I grew up with Paul Gonzalez. He had won the 1984 Olympics. So I trained in the Hollenbeck Houston with him. After he came back from the Olympics, I started thinking, well, I know I can do the same thing. I can go to the Olympics. So I started focusing my energy, my time to get to the Olympic team. Training, sparring, training, competing, building my status, building my name. One of my trainers was he was an active LAPD memorial. So I had a lot of experience, but I really think he did with a lot of the kids there, and how he, as an active cop, would help us kids that were brought up in the inner cities and stuff. How he take us to the gym, he take us to our fights, he'll pick us up, and treated us good, and it felt good that he was like a mentor for us. But I liked that. I saw that, man, this is some of us were brought up with parents that weren't, our dads were really not involved in our life. So that's something that encourages kids. So growing up in that, and then having a coach there, someone that you give accountability to, those were all good things. And it helped me in my mind while I was boxing, at the same time think that'd be a next choice, a career choice after my boxing career, to join the police department. Well, I was in the trials. I was getting ready for the trials and stuff, and I got injured before the trials in '92. I used to spar with a lot of the guys that made it, like Shea Mosley, De La Hoya. I grew up during the same time. We were like sparring partners. Sometimes we were even stable partners, where we trained together. We had the same coach. and we're all ranking. We're all coming up in the boxing world.
That's
Well,
some
for
big
my
names right there, man.
yeah, I had some good training, good sparring with them. So really, the competition was fun and tough. It brings out a lot of you. And then Rafael Relas, those kind of guys. I grew up sparring with those guys, fighting those guys, and I just knew that it was going to be from. I knew I could get there. I knew I could go to the Olympics and get the gold. But I got injured, broke a thumb, and other stuff happened, and that kind of threw me off the opportunity for me to fight the trials, and that's the box offs. And because I knew I had a backup plan after boxing, which I did want to be a police officer. I I grew up in an environment where the cops were either helpful or they weren't. But you also have the bullies in the neighborhood. You have the gang members. You had stuff in the environment where I know that's not what I wanted to be. I didn't want nothing to do with none of that stuff. But I also thought being a police officer, I could make a difference. I could actually give back, be a mentor, help the youngsters. Because I grew up in the Hollenbeck Youth Center, and that youth center there, you had every background. You had kids from different projects, so you get to see all the different neighborhoods. Kids that are they're forced to join gangs, or kids are trying to avoid the gangs. You see all that growing up, and I was around all that, but I avoided all that. But I saw with my own eyes how kids were forced into neighborhoods, and I thought, being a cop, there's you can still be a mentor. You can still encourage kids or help them pick a different career, different path. So I joined the department in '92. I went through the whole process. All the testings I went through, and I passed them, and I got hired. And I went right out of the academy. I selected South Central to work Southeast Division. I always had my goals to join the department, and eventually, not to like want to rank to the highest level, but just if I want to be in there, might as well get a position where I could have a supervisor position. I could still have a say. So I knew that you're supposed to work special divisions that are active, really busy, active, so that you could be known as a street cop, someone that has experience. So when I got out of the academy, I went to South Central, and I worked there for a few months. While I'm working there, I get a phone call from the undercover narcotics unit, which is they call it the buy unit. It's like 21 Jump Street.
Okay.
Basically, they train you up and send you to high school as an undercover high school student, and your job is to buy drugs and find out who's selling the drugs to the youngsters, and to try to connect yourself with the sellers, and then eventually make some arrest. Well, when I got out of the patrol, South Central, I was still fresh out of the academy, so I didn't have a lot of the police slang or the police, I guess you could say, the stands, how cops walk, talk, So I was still street. So if I'm going to go undercover, I can't be acting, walking, talking like I'm an easy giveaway if I do that. So they want to get you fresh out of the academy. So I accepted the offer to that unit, and for a few weeks, all I was doing is training in the undercover unit how to buy drugs, the talk, the walk, everything. And I get sent to a high school in Verdugo Hills, which is in LA, and it's a mix. It's a school that buses students from all over the place. So they're busing from LA, South Central, from all over. They're busing to the school. So my job is, I'm an 11th grader. I look real young back then. I'm 23, but I passed like an 11th grader. So there I am in high school, playing the part, fitting in, trying to get to meet students and see who's doing what. So little by little, I started getting comfortable with the kids, and I started buying drugs. I'm buying weed, coke, you name it, whatever they sell it, I was buying it. I was playing the part that I was buying it so I could sell it in my hood, in my area. But you're playing the part like I'm going to buy some here so I can sell it where I live. So one day, one of the guys that I'm dealing with in school, he offers me to sell me some PCP. But he's being bused from South Central to that school, which is Verdugo Hills, which is way in the valley. So he tells me that he's gonna see how much he has, and during that time, it's in the '90s, so we have pagers, no cell phones. So I gave him my pager number, and he tells me he's gonna page me during that night, so he can let me know how much he has, so I could bring the money and buy it the next day. So during that night, I had been hanging out with my buddies, drinking and stuff, and I get a page by that kid, so I get a little pay phone to call him up and find out how much he's gonna have. After our phone conversation.
And real quick, Ruben, because some people are like, a payphone. What are you guys talking about?
That's
So
right. Payphones, huh?
for you youngsters that are watching the show, a payphone is essentially it was a phone at the corner side of a liquor store, outside a grocery store. Went, put some coins in it, dialed the phone. So if anyone finds a picture of it, send it to me.
That's right. As a matter of fact, it's funny, but I drove by the one payphone that I was involved in my first shooting, and it's still there. Not the phone itself, but the booth and everything's still there. I'm gonna have to try to buy it off them. So anyway, so that I go to the phone, I'm on the phone. I talk to the youngster, and he says, "Yeah, I got $80 worth of PCP." I said, "God, I'll buy it off you tomorrow then." But while I'm on that phone, lo and behold, two older gang members are walking down the same street where I'm on the phone and on the sidewalk, and I'm trying to. I'm kind of aware that they're walking on the same street, and it's in a dark area. So I have my 9mm at that time, and I have my undercover clothes. I have my badge in my wallet. So I grab my 9mm to my rear waistband, and I just keep my eyes open and watch the first guy walk by me. There's two. The second guy stands close to where I'm at, but he's playing with some coins. It appears that he's going to use a phone, but I tried to distract him so he could move, go to the next phone, and the guy turns around and spins on me and puts his gun on my stomach. He racks the action and puts his gun on my stomach. So now I'm against the wall. He's got his gun on my stomach. They're both on me, and I had really my way when I was waiting for to see what was going to happen. I kind of pointed towards that. There's another phone in the other corner. I had released my gun. I had kept it in my holster, so I didn't have my gun on in my hand at that time. So the guy turned on me and spun quick and put the gun in my stomach. So he started asking me for my wallet, and he's telling me to give up my wallet. He's going to shoot me. He's going to kill me. I did have my wallet and I had my badge in it. So my thing is, I'm trying to distract this dude so he doesn't reach around my waistband and find my gun or my badge, and then they still end up shooting me. So I distract him. I tell him I don't have a wallet, but you want my money, my car? Go ahead and take my stuff. Let him have everything. I'm trying to distract him from getting pushed and insisting on my wallet. Well, the guy to my left is still cornering me. He's still going through my pockets, and at one point he's reaching toward my rear waist. I backhand him. I backhand him real fast, and I grab the other guy. I grab the guy's gun from the barrel, and I try to spin and turn it on him. But the guy has both hands on the handle that we spin, and we turn around, and I have the barrel pointed towards him, but then he falls to the ground. So now I have the barrel pointed towards his face, and he still has the grip with both of his hands. He's trying to fight it from me, but I'm his buddy's kicking me because we fell to the ground. His buddy's kicking me. I'm blocking his kicks with my left hand. I'm trying to pull the guy's gun away with my right hand. I'm not able to go for my gun at that time. The guy pulls his gun away from me and stands over me. As he stands over me, he starts pointing the gun towards where my head's at. I'm able to grab the guy's leg that's kicking me, throw him over me. I stand up to reach for my weapon. He starts firing at me, and he hits me. My right leg, I spin around to shoot him, and he hits me in my left leg. I just fire. I start hitting the guy. They still ran. They ran. They went around the corner. They get picked up by the driver. They go to the hospital. That's where he got arrested in the hospital. I get back to the phone. I call 911. The RA shows up. I get treated for my wounds. They check my two legs got hit, going through bullet wounds by 9mm. I get taken to the hospital. I get released the same night. I get back. I get sent home with two fresh bullet wounds to each leg. Well, each leg I hit. So that right there is where things started changing for me as a police officer.
Yeah, and just for everybody that's listening, remember this assignment you got pulled into right out of the academy.
Fresh out of the academy.
Yeah, so it's not like you'd been a cop for a year or 5 years or 10 years. You're still, you're still a boot.
I'm a boot. I'm a rookie.
Yeah. And this is how the show starts for you, which is interesting. I'll share a story with you later because we had some similar starting points. So, but here you go. Your first officer involved shooting, working an undercover assignment. What's going through your mind, man? Are you still thinking like, do I want to do this? Is it worth it? Where are you at?
I want to do it, but I'm more pissed off at myself because I blame myself that I allowed this to happen. I dropped the guard. I was blaming myself, thinking I effed this up. I dropped the guard. I should have never allowed this guys to get that close. I should have been ready on point. I started Monday night quarterbacking everything. I couldn't stop thinking about how I could have avoided, stopped it, or killed both of them without me getting shot. Just so many things kept going through my head, and I couldn't have any peace. I was more upset at myself. Yeah, I was pissed off at the guys. They ended up getting arrested they got wounds from me shooting the guy, but they got arrested. And they did a lot of time. They're still in prison. They did a lot of time, but I wasn't satisfied. I was more upset. I was an unforgiving individual with a lot of anger. Growing up in an environment like that, I grew up around that stuff all my life. As a kid, I've always had guns pointed at me by guys trying to rob me in the neighborhood or putting shotguns to my head, trying to hit me up. I grew up around that stuff. It was, to me, I dealt with that. I was my own, like, you could say, take care of my own business when I was growing up. It didn't, but here I am getting shot, and I'm really upset. Especially someone that has a training. You start wondering, what the hell? You have all this training, martial arts, everything, you still get popped. So it shows that it doesn't matter how good or tough or whatever you think a bullet, it still can get you, still can pop and take you out. But it really upset me to the point where I got compulsive in my training, my tactical training, scenarios. I didn't have peace. I was upset, and I still went back to work. And a lot of people, I grew up in an environment where you're just tough. You tough things out. You don't complain. You don't cry. Just push through and man up. You're not taught to process things. You're not taught to talk about your emotions, your feelings, and that happens in the departments too. But that happens because of your background, to your childhood. You're not allowed or taught to suppressing all that. You're still going to find a way to self-medicate. Well, from that shooting, a few months later, they called me back to work. I never really got to get help. I never really got asked for help. I never went to any psychologist. I just went through physical therapy for my legs so I could have my legs back because I wanted to compete. I was still boxing, kickboxing during that time, so I wanted to compete. All I cared about was going to get back in shape and get back to the competition stuff. I wasn't thinking about the damage that was going on inside me, my mind, my emotions. There was nothing. I grew up in an environment where I just, you take a beating, you tough it out, you get through and move forward. You don't understand that you're accumulating more stuff inside you, and a lot of people don't understand how our minds, our bodies, our emotions function. We neglect that part of ourselves, or we numb it, or we self-medicate with alcohol, with drugs, whatever. Well, here I am getting called back to work, and I'm thinking, now this is where my problem starts happening. The department, I was a rookie, so I didn't really take the step to find out what I'm supposed to do as a rookie. Should I go get counseling? Should I go to? It's like I didn't think or believe in none of that stuff because I thought you just tough it out and push through. And nobody ever spoke about anything that has to do with PTSD or they talked about shell shock when people came back from Vietnam, but that still was not like any big topic. So my sergeants, well, these individuals, my lieutenant and my detectives, my bosses, they start showing more interested in me going back to work to make my arrest. So I'm thinking, well, these dudes don't care what I'm going through. They just care about me going back to work to make my arrest, to go back undercover. So I went back undercover with my crutches, with the fresh bullet wounds, and they were still bandaged up. So it took time before they healed in that area. And I did go back to school undercover with that. And in my mind, I kept thinking, am I supposed to tell these guys, F you guys, I'm going to take some more time because I still need to recover more, or what am I supposed to do? I'm a rookie. You have a lot of these things going to your mind, and I didn't go to the protective league to say, hey, this is what's going on. I don't want to go back to work right now. I need to recover. I just took off. I just went. I went back to work. Instead of speaking up, I went back to work undercover, and I did make a bunch of arrests, and of course, that's what they wanted. And this is where I'm starting to think in my head, oh, F the department. They don't care about you. Because, again, everybody could process and deal with things on their own. You could speak up, stay quiet, or get revenge, get pissed off, and do whatever. That's everybody's different. Everybody's individual. I doubt things my way. My way was different. And I went back to work undercover. I did my arrest, and then from there, I left that unit with a bad already in my head. Already had like a bad experience with management, and for me, again, growing up in an environment where machismo is big, you're more like F you guys. All right, I see how it is. instead of like understanding that, hey, I could have did something about it for myself. I could have got help. I could have did. You don't see that. A lot of people don't see that, and I commend the guys and people that do see that and that take the steps, because I didn't. So I got assigned to Rampart Division. From undercover, I told my lieutenant that I wanted to go to patrol, back to patrol, and to send me to Rampart Division. I knew Rampart was a busy division, you know, active. Gang violence was all over the place, but I wanted that division because I wanted to get involved in the police work there, because that was going to help me build experience, and eventually, when I want to promote, I know that I can promote any specialized unit because of my background, because of my experience. The department during that time awarded me a medal, and it's like a medal of valor. They call it the police medal, but it's like a medal of valor for my shooting, and that actually looks good on your package, right? It looks good on your resume. So now here I am with a medal and stuff, and I get to patrol. I start working Rampart Division. I'm still on probation, by the way. I still haven't finished probation. I still got a few months to go before I finish probation. It is in less than a year. This is what's going on in my career in less than a year. So right away, I'm in Rampart Division patrol. I'm working with a trained officer who's a 24-year veteran, old timer, gunslinger, knows the ins and out of the neighborhood, knows the streets. He loves GTA. He likes to go on pursuits, and of course, he's going to teach me the ropes the way he knows them. First thing out of his mouth is say, "Hey, I know you're still probationary, but I know you have experience here and there, but you've been undercover, so basically, you're gonna get retrained, because undercover work doesn't have to do anything with patrol," which I know. And he says, with my way of working, he says, when we get in pursuits and we get in a pursuit, we got the guy, you better be there first, putting boots to the person, or I'll be putting boots to you. That's just the way it was back then. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever in my mind, but that was just the way they were back then. So I get through probation, and then I'm able to pick my partner so I can start working either patrol or specialized units. During that time, I get invited to work Rampart Crash, which is the gang unit. Um, I start building a reputation of a good police officer, a good street cop, and I get recruited by the sergeants and asked to work Rampart Crash, which is trying resources against street hoodlums.
Now, real quick, Ruben, just so everybody understands, we're not just talking any agency and any unit. Explain to people, how hard it is for guys to get pulled into that program. This isn't just something you guys get to just say, "Hey, I'm going to go apply," or is this no? We invite who's going to try out.
Pretty much, you're going to get recruited. You're going to get voted in by all the officers. There's 21 officers in the crash unit. They have to all vote you in with the sergeants, and not anybody just could go in. You have to be trustworthy. You have to have a reputation. And they're going to look into your background. They're going to look into you in every because they have to be trusted. And it's not just for anybody. And it does take a certain individual that has it in there to be part of that unit. It's a specialized unit. It's an elite unit. It's just deals with the worst gangs in LA. You're dealing with 18th Street, MS-13, Playboys, you name it. The neighborhoods that are very affiliated with the M and active, that's what you're dealing with. And they're extorting, they're robbing, raping, murdering. That's what they're doing. And your job is to deal with them. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to be a hunter. You're going to hunt the hardest gangsters out there. You're going to run this. You're going to deal with them. And you're going to have to learn how to make sure that they know that you are running the streets, not them. And it is part of the job. And I got recruited to that unit. And you're going to be taught the ropes. You're going to be taught the ropes of what it is to be a gang cop in that area. Which means you're going to understand that there's going to be times you're going to bend the rules. And there's a lot of controversy. There's going to be a lot of people talking about that. And that's, if you're there, you understand what I'm talking about. If you've been there, you understand what I'm talking about. There's going to be a lot of times where victims are in fear for their life, and they're not going to want to press charges because they don't want to get killed, because their families living there. They're living in an environment that they cannot move out of, just pick up and go, because they don't have the funds for it. And they're not going to put them in a witness protection program. They're not. So they'd rather tell the gang unit of the problem that they're having with these active gangbangers in there. They're going to say, hey, this guy's causing problems. He's robbing or doing this. But we don't want to file reports, but we want help. Well, then gang unit moves in and does what they have to do to get rid of the problem. And there's different ways that things we got done. For us, I look back, of course, I wasn't a Christian back then. I made my own rules, and I thought, I'm doing something right. I'm helping people. I'm dealing with the problem. I'm cleaning the streets from these individuals who are nothing but urban terrorists, causing destruction, havoc, and terrorizing people. I thought, hey, this is how we got to do what we got to do. We want to make sure people understand that we're going to do our best to keep them, make them feel safe, or at least make them understand that somebody's got their back. Victims don't speak out a lot because they're scared. They don't speak out even after things are done, even if after their perpetrator has been put away. They're still scared. They're still hiding because they're still scared. They don't. Fear controls them, and sometimes things got done like that.
No, it's. I want people to understand that two things. A is understand by Ruben getting invited into this program, recruited into this program. That tells you the caliber of officer that people saw him as. You're talking the best of the best. That's who gets pulled into these units. You don't bring in guys that are okay. You're going to bring in guys that are going to continue to maintain the reputation that unit has. So it's not taken lightly. So it already speaks volumes that, because you're talking, in these units, you have your cops, you have your guys in the units, and then you have your alphas of the alphas. That's who this group was. These were the alphas of the alphas. So this is what Ruben got pulled into. And at this time, how long had you been a cop now as you got pulled into this unit?
Probably about 2+ years at that time, around there, a couple of years.
And I'm sure you can attest to this. You can have 5 years on the job. You're still learning.
You're still learning. You're always learning. Yeah.
You're still learning. So to get pulled into a unit at 2.5 years, it's, that's critical. I mean, think of it as one, we're talking about our small kids, the impressionable years. Well, as a young cop, those first 5 years are very impressionable. So for Ruben to get pulled into this tactical, Rampart crash unit, this is what's going to set the bar to, this is the way police work is. And it's very important that people understand this. This wasn't a young cop who had worked, 5-10 years patrol, kind of knows the politics, kind of knows, all right, this will get you written up, this won't. No, this is all still new exposure to him. And this set the bar of how it operates. So you go into crash. What kind of tests do these guys start putting you through to see where your loyalty was?
Well, it starts with basically dealing with the hardcore gangbangers who are selling drugs, and how are you going to write the report to make sure it sticks in court? How are you going to make sure that there's the PCs covered? And sometimes if it's this guy, you saw the activity, but the guy's trying to hide dope or trying to get out of it, you're going to have to still fabricate to the point that it sticks in court. So they're going to be writing, tell you how they're going to write it, and you have to either be with it or be against it. And you're being tested. You're going to get tested. And that's how some of the tests started. And the beat downs, you got a guy that wants to fight. You're gonna go at it with the person. You're going to deal with the person the way you have to deal with them. And sometimes it was toe to toe, and you did have to take care of business. You could take your uniform off at that moment and put your badge down, put your belt down, and take care of the guy. Let him know that you're not one of those guys that's gonna get pushed around, and put him in his place. You had to establish yourself, and that's how things happened back then. It was police work, and the guys, you have to remember something. If you're a street cop, and this gang member in our units, the gangsters knew what to do. When we showed up, they were already on their knees with their hands up and their legs crossed, because they knew how we did things. They're not gonna run. They're not gonna fight. They're not gonna get mouthy. They're not gonna get crazy. They already did their part. They knew what to do. So the next guy that stops them, any patrol cop, any officer stops them, they already know how to behave, because they were already broken in by the gang cops. It was street respect and loyalty, because you're dealing with street respect, because if we're not doing our job right, these guys are going to run amok, and it's like having kids at home and you're not telling your kids how to behave. And when they're at other people's houses, they're acting like little traviesos, little knuckleheads. You're looking like a bad parent, right? No, doesn't mean, I know there's no perfect parent out there, but I'm just giving an example. This is how the neighbors, the street gang members we operate with them because you're gonna have problems no matter what. They're gonna do their thing. They're gonna be still doing their stuff. But when we had contact with them, it was already they already knew what time it was, and that's how you establish that order in the street. And sometimes it has to be with fear. It has to be with intimidation. It has to be with something because they're not going to respect the victims. They rob, rape, murder. They don't respect them. They don't care about them. And you need people to handle it.
So let me explain to my audience to give them a little bit more clarification on what you're talking about. When you see law enforcement cops out there, you hear there's an adjective that's used to describe cops, and they call it the sheepdog. You know, the sheepdog keeps the sheep protected, and that's very true. And the sheepdog do exist, but then you have particular units like the gang units and the narc units, and you can't be in those units if you're just a sheepdog because you won't survive.
Exactly.
You know, it's you're going into situations, especially when you're working undercover. You don't have a bulletproof vest. Sometimes you don't even have a gun.
Exactly.
And a sheepdog won't do that job. So you're asking, okay, Alpha, then what kind of guys get put into those units? Wolves. These are the wolves that just decided not to go and be the criminals, but they have all the understanding, the street knowledge, the tactics. You know, this is a wolf will only face off with another wolf in this life. And so the guys that go into these units, like Ruben, these are wolves, and that's why they are so good at their jobs, because they can see what's going to happen where a normal street cop, they're just not going to get it. They can see when a hand to hand's about to go down. They know these things. So, I want people to understand that, you're dealing with an elite trained group. So tell me, how did things start to escalate, Ruben? How did things start going downhill for you on this one?
So I was working the unit for a while. During that time they invited me because in that specialized unit I'm working, and I was loaned out to work in another unit, a 6 months undercover unit. It was like it's similar to a movie training day. It's called FES, Field Enforcement Section. My partner and I, we were building a hardcore reputation in the department, in that division, that somebody called us and said, hey, we want to recruit you guys for 6 months, loan you guys out to this specialized unit. And it's going to be dealing with all the narcotics complaints. So my partner and I took the invitation because we're going to come right back to crash anyways. Our sergeants in crash allowed us to go for 6 months, and we're going to come right back to crash. So they said, man, this is a good opportunity for you guys to get some more undercover experience. So our job was to go out and do all the narcotics complaints in the blocks, in the neighborhoods, and that area is flooded with narcotics activity, big time flooded. And there's drugs in every corner, apartments, blocks, you name it. You can turn every corner. You're gonna find one block, you're gonna find cocaine. The next block, you're gonna find heroin. The next block, you'll find PCP. And back then, marijuana was illegal, so you're gonna find marijuana. So every block in those areas was run by gangs, and there was dope in every corner, but every type of different kinds of dope. And then you had the ones that collect the rent, the ones that are extorting you, the ones that are the neighborhoods who, if you want to sell dope in my block, you got to pay 18th Street this much money, and you have the protection from the shot callers. All that stuff's going on during that time. So my job and my partner, we got assigned to go undercover in that area, and all the complaints were, we're dealing with pagers, so we're getting paged by apartment managers, different residents who are giving us information on all the activity that's happening during that time. So my partner and I started making a bunch of arrests, clean house. I'm talking about apartments that were flooded with gangs and gang activity, guns, dope. We're making some good arrests, and because we had good informants too. Our informants, they make a difference too. Having the right informants, you name it. And in 90s, I believe maybe 97, 98, we got into another shootout. We're doing our intel gathering about this area. There's apartment complex very busy with dope activity and gang activity from 18th Street. Well, during our search to go do a surveillance in that area, this guy in the basement pulls out a shotgun on us, and we end up shooting it out with him. We shoot him and he dies. That shooting was cleared and everything was in policy. But then we went back to Rampart Crash. So during that time when Rampart crashed, we're still active in Rampart crash. And right when we go back to Rampart crash, Rafael Perez gets arrested for his narcotics activity. He had stole some cocaine from the property room, evidence room, and he had his own people selling it. We weren't aware of none of that stuff. We were just doing our own gang police enforcement. I mean, everybody in the unit knows that we're all doing our gang police enforcement, but we weren't aware that Rafael was doing that. When he got arrested and he went to trial, he got a hung jury. The second time around, instead of him going back to trial, he ended up exposing all our activity, what we were doing, everything that we were doing in the gang unit. So he exposed the whole unit in regards to our type of gang activity, our gang work that we were doing. It's been going on forever, but now the departments, all of a sudden, they want to start investigating everybody in the unit. When everybody's known about it, everybody knows that police work, that kind of police work is been going on forever, and the departments, the divisions have been doing it. But Perez opens that can of worm, and they started investigating a lot of my partners, and they were put on leave pending the investigation, and a lot of them were getting laid off for getting their paychecks taken away from them while they're having to go through this whole ordeal because of Rafael Perez is exposing them. During that time, I couldn't see anything wrong with what we were doing. I just kept thinking Perez is a snitch. What a coward, you know. I'm just saying these guys are good law enforcement officers, they're good police officers putting their life on line to go and get the worst of the worst. And going back to the wolf thing, I would consider us, you and myself, we're hunters. We hunt those. We hunt. We're hunters because hunters wiser than the wolf too. I hunt
like
wolves.
that. I like that. I can roll with that.
We hunt lions. We hunt every breed out there. We hunt, and I really think that separates us from those individuals. And so we're in this unit, and Perez is exposing everybody, and I'm upset because again, I'm thinking, you know what? Everybody's been doing police work. We need to do police work. We need to deal with these problems out here. I'm not seeing anything wrong with what I'm doing. I take things very personal back then. Again, I'm going back to my background. I wasn't someone that knew how to forgive people. I was very vindictive. I wasn't a Christian back then. So I had a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness and hatred towards things and management, people that I feel can't just let you work, and they want to pencil push, and they want to get in the way of when you're putting your life on the line every day. So I'm looking at all that, and I'm seeing the departments, a lot of my partners, a lot of people that I work with, I saw a lot of their struggle, their sufferings as officers. And again, you said it earlier, we have some good officers out there that do, put their life on the line, and we have officers that, make mistakes. The department, the job itself is not an easy job. You need an outlet. You need someone that you can confide in. You can get help, because right now nobody likes cops. It seems like not everybody. There is people that do like cops, but I'm talking about like just the number of people bad mouthing officers. They're trying to come up with a bunch of defunding stuff. It's just really ridiculous. What happens when something happens? Who do they call first? Police officers. So I just think is the criminals that want to get away with stuff, so they don't want them out there. And anyways,
I agree with that.
And again, there is guys that are in the department that are scared. Some officers are dumb. They do some dumbass stuff, and when they're doing their job, they do certain things that make things worse because they're scared. They overreact in scenarios because they don't have the experience and they're scared, and they mess it up for the situations. They make it worse than what it is. When you could just make a traffic stop and talk to the person, you blow it out of proportion, becomes a worse situation that could have just been a simple ticket or a warning. And you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about. You can be in a situation. I shared it with the Spaces group the other night. Did a traffic, and I was a young cop too. I was like 2 years on. Roll up to a driver, and what do I see between the belt buckle and the center console is the back, the back side of the pistol grip to a gun. Right. Now, you and I have both worked with the cops that they're gonna be stumbling and getting their gun and don't move and screaming.
Yeah.
It's just like, or you can just, in a very, very obvious tone, don't reach for that effing gun, because if
don't reach for it,
you're gonna get smoked. Keep your hands on the wheel. Yeah. Wait for my partners to get here. We'll deal with it. There's a difference, and like you said, when you have cops that don't know how to handle those situations, whether it be life experience or training, they end up making the situation evolve into something bad. Now, I'm not making an excuse for a criminal having a gun when they shouldn't.
No, of course not.
But the cop could have mitigated it had he had better training. 100%.
100%. And I believe that I really believe that there's a way to solve a lot of the problem with the community and the police departments. I really believe there's a way, because I thought about a lot of stuff. I went through a lot. Well, let me get back to your story so I don't go off track. So, when Perez started doing all this, instead of me saying, you know what, we are wrong, we need to do something about it, we need to figure out another way to do police work or gang enforcement, I got upset. And because of all my experience with the department, and I was brewing a lot of stuff inside of my anger, my resentment towards the management, I said, F the department, F the job. I'm not gonna put my life on the line anymore for these people, for the department and people, and me getting myself killed out there where the department could just kick my family, kick me to the curb. And who's going to support my kids? In my head, I started thinking a bunch of crazy stuff. We had just buried one of our partners who got killed by 18th Street from a different gang unit. He worked the gang unit in Southwest Division. Cuesta got shot by an 18th Street back then. So that was one of our buddies, and we were like upset at the whole situation. And then before that, or maybe after Navidad, he got shot by a 16-year-old kid. But Navidad and his partner made major mistakes in the tactics, how they handled the situation. He got himself killed. But I knew them both, and I was very bothered by the whole situation. And I was still bothered with the department. I always felt that the department still were family, but they don't treat you like family, or kids like families and your family. So I'm like thinking, man, it's all BS, man. I'm not into all this crazy stuff anyway. So I said, I'm gonna do my own thing. I started getting in my head to think, well, if I'm gonna put my life on the line, let me put it on for something that's worth it. And I started talking to my informants, and some of them would say, hey, some of you gangsters out here make $1 million a week extorting individuals or moving that weed or whatever. I said, man, I'm gonna go jack those dudes. At that point, I stopped caring about my job. I stopped caring about anything. And again, anybody they're gonna criticize. Say, that's cool. I know who I was back then. I was an angry individual. I didn't care. I didn't care about nothing. And I wasn't going to listen to nobody. I was pissed off, and I was going to get revenge my way. If I was going to get revenge by messing up these gangsters and the department, that's what I was going to do. And until they killed me, I didn't care. I didn't care if they shot me, killed me. I didn't care if I killed individuals. I was on a good one during that time. So I started getting phone calls from someone that had some connections. Gives me my first address. I go hit a house. During this time, I recruited a few of the officers that were pissed off. And I say, hey, I'm going to start collecting some just for some people, make some big money. I said, between us, I'm going to put myself out there. I don't care. I'm going to make it worth my time. I said, let it be worth the risk, I said. So some of the individuals agreed, and went and hit this first house and got a bunch of cash and dope. About $1 million cash and about 15 keys of coke. And it was on and cracking. I got addicted to it. I got addicted to adrenaline. I got addicted to that free easy money. I got addicted to slapping these guys around and taking their stuff and said, that's right, pay my bills. You know, it was my attitude back then. I said, you guys don't faze me. So I was on a good one. I started going harder. Just kept going harder, and just started not caring about anything. And I thought, I'm going on a good suicide mission. I don't care if I get into it with these dudes or the cartels, I'll shoot it out with all of them until they kill me. I don't care. I'll be armed, ready too. They don't faze me. And in 2001, by the grace of God, I got arrested on a sting operation that really had nothing to do with my stuff in San Diego. I was only going to go meet a so-called Colombian individual. I was going to sell some coke to my cousin and his friend, 10 keys. And I wasn't involved with the dope because I wasn't buying any dope. I was jacking dope and collecting debts for people. So to me, it was like, I really had nothing to do with that, but I did because I was going to go meet this guy. So being arrested with those 10 keys, these individuals, when we got arrested, they told on me, on my stuff. And that's when everything just opened up. The can of worm opened up. And don't get me wrong, I was still bad. I was still blaming everybody. I was still pissed off. I still didn't care. I was still thinking suicide mission. Um, I'm grateful for the person that was in my cell that day and introduced me to the Bible and started talking to me about salvation, forgiveness, and that's where things started changing for me. That couple of months into my arrest, somebody introduced me to the Bible and Jesus and salvation, forgiveness, because I thought I was going to go straight to hell and I was ready, and I thought there was no way out of it. So I was like, I'm going hard. I'm not. There's no point of me being a good guy if I'm still going to go to hell anyways. Let's just go hard.
Let me ask you a question about this real quick because I'm curious about this, Ruben. So at this point, you have your feelings of the way you felt about the department that kind of led you down the way to make these choices. So now it's like, all right, my brothers and sisters in blue are the ones that just threw hooks on me. They were hunting me. The bad guys, they know where I'm at, so I'm not safe there. I mean, at this point, were you feeling like literally it's just you against the world at this point? And if you did feel that way, you know, what was the potential outcomes that you were looking at? Like, you know what, I'm going to keep this lifestyle up. All right, no, this is a chance that I need to change. What was that moment like? Because
When I got arrested.
Well, not just when you were arrested, like a little bit after the arrest, like once the DA says, these are the charges you're looking at, this is the time you're looking at, this is the first deal we're offering you. And now you're everybody's enemy. The badge is going to be looking for you. The bad guys are going to be looking for you. What was it like to have all that on your shoulders?
You know what? I didn't really, with that situation there, that part, I really didn't care about anybody or anybody's feelings or nothing, or how they felt or thought about me, because I was like, this is me. I got to deal with my own problem. I put myself here as my issue, and nobody's in my shoes. I'm not going to care what anybody has to say or don't, because I was still pissed off. That didn't matter to me. I was one of those individuals that I didn't see my own fault, like what I did wrong. I didn't see that. I was like, where's the victims at? These guys ain't no victims. I didn't see that. I didn't. I said these guys don't have no rights anyways. Why should I plead guilty to something when there's no victims? These are all criminals too. And I wasn't seeing that. And I was also mad. Like saying, okay, these officers, and my partners got all laid off, got in trouble for doing their job right. And I thought to myself, so the management just abuses, and then they kick you to the curb. I said, all my buddies lost their jobs. I said, and I was like, this is how they do you dirty anyway. So I'm like, I'm gonna just take the risk anyways. So yeah, I didn't think about any of them or anyone. The only thing that started affecting me is the fact that I have my kids. I said, well, that's the only thing that started getting the best of me. The fact that I have my kids, and eventually that other stuff started kicking in, where I felt the fact that I affected my partners out there. I hurt my partners, people that I cared about, people that care about me. Eventually that started coming in. The more I started getting myself right with God, the conviction started coming in.
Gotcha.
Little by little. It didn't come overnight. It didn't happen in one day. It took a lot of time for me to see my own error, my own faults, my own issues, and started realizing that I was just an angry individual and I needed to do something about it. But it wasn't, because when you're prideful, you're not going to admit nothing.
So, and then let me ask you this, because here's the other question that I'm sure a lot of people in the audience have, looking at the different chats, is, you're working in the elite unit. You're the best of the best. This is the world that you guys operate on a daily basis. What people go see a movie for 2 hours, this is your real life every day, every week.
Yeah.
So knowing the tactics, knowing what snitches work like, knowing what informants work like, how does a guy like you get caught? How did that happen?
That's the blessing. I'm glad I got busted. So I dropped my guard. What happened was I did train with the undercover unit, the SWAT team. I always train with them, so I thought I had it all set up good. My cousin had a friend that was doing time with somebody in the feds for 5 years. This guy said that when he got out, he was going to hook him with some cocaine through his uncle. So my cousin's friend gets out, calls his old cellmate, who he did 5 years with, not realizing that cellmate of his is an informant for the feds. So when they're inviting me to go meet the connection, I had already asked all the questions. I'm like, are you guys sure they're not competent on this? Because it wasn't my situation. I didn't look into nothing. And I thought, I'm not going to get involved with these guys anyway, so who cares? So I never did any background, anything or anyone. I just dropped my own guard. I was more pissed off at my cousin who was trying to get over me that I said, you know what, screw my cousin. I'm going to go burn him and go meet his connection. So my thing was more like a revenge thing to go meet his own connection, which was how I got busted. It was more like pride and my own vindictiveness. That's how I got busted.
Gotcha.
But getting busted was actually a blessing too, because I was getting so caught up with my own junk that I could talk about all this now because I'm glad none of that happened. But I had that night I should have went out and maybe took out 3 people. So I got arrested before I could do something crazier. So I look at the blessing eventually, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm glad. I'm glad I messed that one up, right? I
So
wasn't gonna
then,
stop.
no, it's just gonna escalate. You're gonna get more brazen. You're gonna, yeah, I agree. It gets bigger and more dangerous as you progress with it. So then, when the DA finally says, "Hey, this is what you're looking at," what's the first number they throw at you when they say, this is what we're
Well,
charging?
well, the first number was really they're gonna charge me with the 10 keys and my gun. So they would offer me 15 years. That's what they stuck to the 15 years. They were not trying to go lower because what they were doing is trying to intimidate me because they already had info on what I was doing in LA with my partner. So they wanted me to basically come clean on that. And I wouldn't come clean. I was like, no, I'm not going to say that. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So they were holding those 15 years over me, hoping I'd buckle and give up all the stuff I was doing in LA. Little did I know is that all the people that got arrested with me the first day, which was 4 people, they already had been telling on me. I had no clue that was going on because when it was my cousin and a couple other individuals, I thought these guys are supposed to be solid. Turned out to be that they weren't solid, and they started really exposing everything that I was doing. It took me 2 years to finally own up to stuff and take responsibility for my actions and plead guilty.
And I want you to talk about that now that we're there, because everybody's heard, your testimony of what you did, the things that you're involved with, to explain to everybody how you made the decision, with your attorney to say, hey, I want guilty now, because that's not something you see very often.
I was fighting the system for 2 years. I thought I was going to go to trial at first. I kept saying there's no victims. These guys are all dope addicts, dope dealers, gangsters. I said, cartel individuals selling dope, moving dope. I said, I don't see no victims here. I said, let me bring their victims. So I wouldn't plead guilty, and I was being stubborn. Well, I took a polygraph test and I failed it, even though I was right. I wasn't lying, and I still failed it. Well, the guy that gave me the polygraph test was a Christian individual who told me the truth the truth will set you free. You dug a hole, you got to dig your way out of it. And I've been praying a lot. I've been praying a lot and asking God to give me guidance. I don't know what to do. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust the government. I don't trust my attorney. I had been told on by a lot of people. By this time, there's like 20 people telling on me. I didn't want to plead guilty. I wanted to go to trial thinking I can beat this by me discrediting all the guys in my case. And I didn't know any better. I was just hard headed. So when this guy tells me this, I had opened the Bible too in Romans 13 that says, if you rebel against the government, you rebel against God, because God established government, not the people in the position. We vote the people in or they get promoted, but the government's there for a reason, to establish order, and so that's where it clicked in and made me feel convicted that I was wrong with God. So I called my attorney the same day. I said, you know what, I'm guilty. I'm gonna plead guilty. I said, I gotta plead guilty. I'm wrong with God. I want to get right with God, and I'm gonna plead guilty. So I told him, let the feds know that I'm gonna plead guilty. I said, I'm gonna come clean on myself. I said, I will do that. I said, and that's where I took that responsibility. I said, I want to come out. I want to do the right thing. I said, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm gonna own up to it, and that's where I started. I pled guilty, and I just felt that favor was coming upon me. Things were changing.
And you plead guilty, and how many years did they sentence you to?
They sentenced me to 18 years. And they told me they weren't promising me nothing. They go, you're pleading guilty by faith. You're doing your own thing. I go, yeah, that's right. I said, I know you guys ain't promising me nothing. And they said, everybody already told on you. I said, that's fine. And they said, you still could come clean on yourself with the stuff you did. I said, that's fine. I will. Man, I basically told on myself on what the jobs I did, even though like 20 people I already told, I basically told on myself. And when I got sentenced, this is the other part people don't understand. I was a I became a praying warrior. You know, I became a praying warrior. I started trusting God. I started asking God to get rid of, because I started realizing I had some heavy duty PTSD that I didn't know, but it was still messing with me. Because while I was in there, because I did 16 years and I did 5 years solitary confinement straight, and then I did like 2 more months here, 5 months here. I said like 7 years of solitary confinement on my own, single cell, 23, 24 hour lockdowns, and because of my co-defendants, because they had told on me and they thought they had to keep them away from me because they thought I'm going to do something to them. But during those years of solitary confinement, I dealt with my issues. I got a lot of help. I got professional help. I reached out to Christian psychologists. I started discovering that I had some strong case of PTSD. I don't know how to fix myself. I can't fix myself. I just knew that I wanted to fix whatever was going on inside my head because I was going to hurt some people in there. I couldn't handle a bunch of dummies in there, and I wanted to do something bad to these guys when they trigger me. And here I am reading the Bible, trying to be this good guy. It was tough. It was hard. But the more I reached out for help, the more I started feeling that God was working in my heart to work with me and heal me, because I started experiencing a lot of deep level healing within me. Like forgiveness helped me, forgiving people helped me. Just every little detail that I had to figure out on what was wrong with me, so that I could actually reach out to the professionals. But
And,
of course, yeah,
yeah, I want to ask you. I want to talk about this on the PTSD, because when I was a young cop, for those that are listening to the show and never heard my stories before, I was involved in 4 officer-involved shootings as a cop. Where I was being shot at, not somebody pulling out a phone or a wallet. Somebody was shooting lead my way. And when you're a young cop, exactly like Ruben said, you just have this machismo that I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to handle it. This is the way it is. I'm going to get back to work. I'm going to do my business. There's no one there teaching you that, you took a life, and whether justified, whatever the case may be, you still ended somebody's life, and there's psychological damage and emotions that have to be addressed there. But our
yes,
departments have dramatically failed in that realm. There's a couple of things, and it's not always just shootings. It could be witnessing a partner get hurt. It could be witnessing a dead baby from a car accident. And okay,
yes.
sometimes they give you 2-3 days off. Who gets better from a mental trauma for having 3 days off? I mean, think about that.
Nobody.
Yeah. So my question to you, Ruben, is, had the departments, and the thing is, they didn't do it there. It wasn't there for us. It wasn't there for the people like us that went through that stuff. But for these new guys, the ones that are going to experience it, our future law enforcement, men and women, if there's a shooting, even if the cop says, hey, I'm good, there should be a standard protocol that goes beyond 3 days. If you have
Yes,
a guy that's working a unit like Rampart Crash, or some type of undercover thing, we should have in place time limits to that stuff,
yes,
regardless of what the individual says. Because what are we? We're, like you said, we're the hunters. We're never going to say we're tired. We're never going to say,
no,
hey, this is too much. We're going to keep going and going and going and going until we get hurt, someone else gets hurt, or there's a catastrophic casualty, like what your story happened. But if we're going to put these guys in these type of working environments, it's hell. You're working in hell. You're working
yeah,
in
you
the
are.
worst conditions. People aren't calling 911 to say, hey, I'm having a good day. No, it's the worst. And then you're dealing with the worst of the worst. You
Yeah,
can't subject any human being, no matter how strong they are, to doing that. There needs to be. And so when people talk about, oh, we need to defund police, I always tell people, listen, you don't defund them. Is there a reform that needs to take place? Absolutely.
yes, of course.
But we're going about it the wrong way. After your first shooting, or definitely after your second shooting, if there would have been, department psychologists that would have actually pulled you aside and said, hey, listen, I don't care how you feel, but you're going to go through this program for the next 6 months, 9 months. We're going to be doing weekly check-ins, bi-weekly check-ins. Do you think something like that? And I'm not trying to, you already owned up to what you did. So I'm not trying to say, hey, an alibi or an excuse. I mean, I really want your
Right.
opinion. Had you had something like that, do you think it probably could have shifted the course of what ultimately happened to you?
I believe it would have. The only problem with it would have to be someone that could relate to us, to me, or anybody that's been in shootouts, and it's got to be trustworthy individual that's not gonna go and say expose us, because it's hard to trust. That's what the officers don't talk about, because if you admit to certain things, they scrutinize you, and you're gonna feel like you're gonna be marked, and you're gonna have a cross on you, because an X on you, because they're gonna say this guy's no good. He's got mental health. So let's take his gun away from him. Or we got to put him behind the desk. Let's put him in the kit room, passing out the equipment, because we don't want him to be a risk out there, or a suicidal, or he might end up hurting. He's a liability now. So
Yep.
it's difficult. So you really have to. I want to build my own programs where I could actually deal with people and they could trust, because I'm going to school. I'm finishing school for drug and alcohol and a trauma counseling. But that's what I'm doing too, because I want to be able to give back and help individuals in the departments. Of course, they have to understand that I'm doing it to help them. I already did my own thing. I already messed up, so I'm doing it to help individuals and first responders, you name it, not just the law enforcement, but military, because they need people that have been through it and have been through a lot, and they actually care about them, understand them.
And I will pray for you, brother, every single day that you maintain that, because they have the programs that they have now. I'll say, thanks for trying, because they're trying. But just because you send some guy up to Big Bear for a week with a bunch of other guys that were involved in something, listen, a week's not enough time. You're going to go out there and you're going to be like, I'm not going to be the first guy that's going to say how this affected me. I'm not going to be that dude, or I'm not going to let everything out. I'm not going to put my laundry out there. Or I'm going to do what the department wants me to do. I'm going to seem like I'm good. I'm going to go back and I'm going to enjoy the week off. I got some rest. No, you
get paid.
Yeah, I'm going to get paid for my week off, and I'll get back in the saddle after that. We need legitimate programs out there that cops are forced to go to. You think about all the other industries, it almost exists, but we need to have, I really pray that you see that through. I'm going to keep that in my prayers, man, because it's needed.
Yeah. You gotta be real.
Help with it, man. You give me a call. I'll help you out. If you need help to network with that, I'll help you.
They got to be real. Like, you could talk to the, hey, stop lying, man. You're right here in this program. Your ass needs help. Stop lying, man. We're not gonna play these little games. We're here to help you. So you better keep it real right here.
Look, I'll share. Look, I get goosebumps with what I'm going to share with you right now, because this to this day still pisses me off. Back in 2011, March 18th of 2011, I watched my partner, my friend Jermaine Gibson, burn alive in front of me in a police car. Some people know that story, some people don't. We were in a pursuit. He was the first car, I was the second car. I was training a young guy with me. He lost control. Car spins. He ends up doing a C. Driver doors wrapped around a palm tree. And then, like I said, ultimately we saw our friend burn alive because we couldn't get him out of the car.
Wow.
The chief at the time, the chief at the time, two things, man. A, he had asked me, remember, this is a chief of police.
Yeah.
He had asked me to lie to the wife, to lie to his wife. Her name was Jessica. And I can speak about this now because I'm out of that agency. She had been calling me. She wanted to know the truth. Was he dead on impact? Or, she wanted to know how her husband died. They had just gotten married. His baby was only a few weeks old. It happened to the worst person it could have happened to. And, the department wasn't giving her answers. The coroner wasn't giving her answers. And obviously it was uncomfortable. I didn't want to tell her what I saw. I mean, come on,
Right.
And he had told me, you do not listen. He goes, does it make a difference? And I get where he was coming from. And some people may be inside with him, but he said, no, you just tell her he was dead. And I was just like, this is his wife, my friend's wife, she's my friend. You want me to lie to her, And so I remember finally, I was avoiding her calls, because it was hard. And finally one time, and I was in my patrol unit and I just answered it, man. I said, what's up, Jessica? And I knew where she was going, and she asked, and I said, listen, what I'm going to tell you, I'm trusting you, because if you say something, there's potential I can get fired over it,
Right.
But I'm going to tell you the truth. And like I said, I didn't give her the gory details, but, I told her the truth and she appreciated it. And we've had a friendship since then. But the same chief, but that just shows you, where they don't, some of these people, there's some good chiefs out there. There's some good leaders out there. I've worked for some, but there's some out there that they just don't care. This same chief, one of our guys, like I said, I was a friend of Jermaine's, but his best friend was another partner of ours named Brian. I mean, these guys were brothers. That was his best friend. and he wanted to go to the wife to console her. He wanted to be the one to give her the news, and he should have been. That that was the best friend to their family,
Yes.
And the chief told him that he was ordered not to go and do that because the chief wanted to be the one to give the news. He was more interested in the bravado of being the one carrying that information, being the one to go over there with a flag to have this ceremony. He completely forgot that these are real people and someone's about to be told their partner in life is gone forever.
Right.
And that stuff exists across a lot of law enforcement. So when people say, why do these issues are there? One of the things is we don't take and I'm not making excuses for anybody. We're all accountable for what we do. But it doesn't mean that there's failures that we have in law enforcement that contribute to this stuff. And that stuff needs to be addressed.
I agree.
So you go through all this, you do your time, and you find God, and now you're this warrior, you're fighting human trafficking, you're coming up with, you're going to schooling for this drug. Like, where are you at, man? I mean, you and one of your good buddies, who's probably going to be coming on my show pretty soon, you guys are in the battle of this good versus evil, man. Tell us, what are the stuff that you're fighting right now so my audience knows?
Truthfully, I have a bunch of stuff that I'm focusing on, and one of them has to do also with the gang prevention intervention programs to help the youngsters stay out of that stuff. That's one. The narcotic stuff, having to deal with drug and alcohol counseling, because I deal with a lot of mental health victims or just abuse victims in every level, and the PTSD, dealing with people with trauma. And doesn't mean you have to be a law enforcement to have trauma. Trauma comes from different instances in your life. So, and building a mixed martial arts youth center gym, so I could build programs to help youngsters out there. That's what I'm focusing on right now.
That's awesome. Do you have any funding campaigns, or if people want to donate money, like how do people go about doing that if they want to help your cause?
I do have one, but I think it's on Twitter. I'm not too good at all that stuff because I'm having somebody else help me with it.
And no worries, brother. So what we'll do is later on tonight, get that link for me. And then what I'll do is I'll include it in the description of this show. So if you're watching live tonight and you guys are interested in helping these efforts, a few hours later tonight, like I said, I'll have the link in there for you guys. If you're watching the replay of this over the next few days or the next few weeks, click on that link, leave a comment, let me know any stuff that you can offer. I know our network is huge in the Patriot community, and we need to start utilizing that. We don't do a good job. We don't do a really good job of networking and stuff like that. So before I let you go, Ruben, is there anything that you want the audience to know about you or your story or your efforts that we didn't cover, and you want to make sure that people hear it? I want to give you that chance to talk about that right now if you have anything.
Yeah, you know what? One of the things I do want to say is I'm here because I give God the honor and glory, because I did get healed from PTSD. A lot of people don't understand that there is a lot of good resources out there. And I really believe in scripture. I believe Christian-based, because I've tried a lot of different avenues. And I know that when you have a lot of issues, medicating yourself is not going to help you. Going to different programs that are not going to go deep to get you the right help are going to just leave you still frustrated, desperate. I went to the right people that actually were equipped, and I'm grateful to God that I did get healed from all this. But also, the departments, there is a lot that I want to see. I want to see the departments and the communities build better relationships and heal. And that's one of my things I want to focus on too. Is officers have to understand that there's good people out there that do care about the community or the law enforcement. At the same time, officers have to not think that everybody's their enemy, and actually have a heart for people too. You're doing a job you sign up to do, and you put your life on the line every day. But know that there's good people out there that do actually dealing with people in the right level. Your audience, you're a cop. You're dealing with different backgrounds, so not everybody's a bad guy. Not everybody's out there to hurt you, to mess you up. Understanding that's going to help, because man, communicating with people makes a big difference. I had to go to prison to learn a lot of stuff, because in there I got to see that not everybody in there's a piece of trash. Not everybody in there's an evil. Not everybody in there wants to continue to be career criminals. Not everybody. So I learned that, hey, there's some people in here that actually messed up. They want to change. Give them an opportunity. Talking to you. the first one out there as an officer talking to individuals, you can make an impact in somebody's life because you have that position, and using it for something good helps. It does help. I mean, I want to see that happen. The department and the community get better because there's so much crap out there. It's really bad.
And let me tell you, you impact people's lives. And I'm going to give people, here's something, this is going to be the first time people ever hear this, because outside of my immediate family, I've never publicly shared this. When the local media try to, degrade my name, destroy my career, try to uproot everything that I had accomplished. I mean, you read the articles they put there out there. They make me sound like a terrible police officer. And then I started reading the comments that people were sending me. And there were well, they weren't youngsters anymore, but there were people on there writing statements. And here's the thing, Ruben, I'll be completely honest. I didn't remember them. I don't remember these people, but these were people that had contacts with me while they were young saying, you know what, I don't believe this. This officer, I had this experience with them and he could have arrested me, but he gave me a chance. We had to talk. And I just read story after story.
Big time.
Where these people were actually talking about what I was really like. And the thing is, I didn't remember them, Ruben. But obviously that contact with me,
they remembered you. They
remembered me. And let me tell you, when you know what it's like to go through something like that, you question everything, was it worth it? All this I sacrificed, all the times I almost died. Like, you think about all that. And I remember, I give thanks to God for reading those messages, because it made me realize no matter what you go through, you did what was right and it impacted people's lives. I want to ask you for one favor before I say goodnight to you, brother. There's I have a lot of law enforcement people that will watch this video, whether they're watching live tonight or they watch in the future. I have a lot of people that have family that's in law enforcement. The FBI that keeps monitoring me is going to watch this. But for those guys that are in law enforcement right now, that man or woman that's going to watch this show, if they have a friend that they're suspicious of might be going down a dark path, or maybe it's them that's starting to think about going that dark path, let me give you the next minute, man. What's your message to that person that may be thinking about jeopardizing their oath?
I would suggest they get help. They go talk to somebody that they can trust and let it all, say no to it. It's not worth it. You're not doing anything good for yourself. You're going to hurt yourself and hurt other people besides your family, your community. You have to think of the risk and the consequence that come with all that trash. You're better off getting help. For whatever you're going on in your head, your heart, hurt, angry, bitter, resentful, feel betrayed. It's better to get help. There's good people out there that can help you, and there is people that do care, actually.
Amen to that, brother. Ruben, thank you for sharing your testimony with us. I know,
appreciate it.
I know you've done it before, but it doesn't mean that it's easy to share. And
I appreciate you.
And I understand that. So, like I said, man, if you need any help in the future with anything, you guys need to come back on my show, put a message out there, just let me know. Just to give you a heads up on something that I've, been working on little by little over the last couple of years I'm glad we did this show, because there was a part in there that I wouldn't have included because I just didn't know about it or how to write it. But I want to write a book that's aimed at how to survive your first 5 years in law enforcement. Nice. Because coming out of the academy, there's nothing that teaches you about politics. There's nothing that teaches you about what the real culture is like. The difference. We always say you don't have to be worried about getting stabbed out in the field. You got to be worried about getting stabbed back in the agency, right? There's I see a lot of good cops that don't survive those first 5 years because they just don't have direction. Nobody takes them under their wing. So I actually want to come up with like I said, a little book that I've been putting together. But it's very important that we have a part in there that talks about, recognizing corruption, how to avoid it, what the signs are. So
let me know if you need help.
And
I got your back too.
Yeah, we can collaborate on that part of the book. It'd be a lot of help, man. So with that, Ruben, good night, brother. Tell your buddy that we'll be bringing him on here pretty soon as well.
I'll let him know. Cool. Take care.
Right. Good night. Right. There you guys have it. Ruben Palomares. Let me tell you guys, it's not easy to come out on a broadcast, especially a live broadcast, and share your testimony, especially when it involves you sharing something where you made mistakes and you did something that was wrong. It takes courage to admit that, but let alone to publicly share it. And like I said, thankful, Ruben has found God, and he's on a mission from God, and all the things that he's done in life successfully, along with the regrets, are going to help him fulfill that mission that he has. So make sure you guys keep him in prayer. So this is the next thing I want to cover for a few more minutes before we call it a night is, Monica, she's watching the show tonight, Monica Matthews. She was holding a space today, and I'm not going to go into it. You guys can go to her thread or my thread or the people that retweeted it. But there's a lot of hate that's circulating and around the world, but in our country particularly right now. And hate only comes from one place. It comes from Satan. It comes from the devil. That's not the way our God made us. To hate another person. I'm not talking about hating wrong acts or hating sin. I'm talking about hating another person for whatever the reason may be. We don't win unless love and unity is involved. And I'm not trying to paint a picture of rainbows and unicorns, because I'm not fake. But what I am saying is that love and unity are real things, and they are powerful. There was a particular gentleman that tried to come in and, try to, spread some rhetoric to try to get under my skin. But like I said, I did this job for 14 years. You're not going to get under my skin. It's not going to be very difficult to do that. But one of the things I wanted to express with people is, did my career come to an end because I dealt with corrupt cops? It did. Will I ever have a badge on my chest again? I don't know. Maybe not. It's God's plan for me, not my plan anymore. But what I'll tell you is, even that happening to me, I can tell you guys that the vast majority of law enforcement are good men and women. They will lay their life on the line for you. They will die for you, even if they don't know you, a complete stranger, because that's what it means to them. That oath has that kind of value to them. So before we degrade them and before we try to cast them all into one bubble, think about that. It doesn't matter what race we're talking about. It doesn't matter if we're talking about white people, Asian people, Mexican people, black people. It's not fair to throw any class of a population into a bowl because a loud minority has, set a precedence of what things look like. It's unfair. It's unfair to say all cops are corrupt. It's unfair to say any particular race is all corrupt. It's not right. It's not representative of what the truth is. But at the same time, one of the things that I'm very disappointed with, and I'm going to lecture my patriots tonight, stop being politically correct. Listen to me again. Stop being politically correct. Stop thinking that you have to say what social media and the mainstream media is telling you the way you have to word things. That is why we are at where we're at right now. Because we, us patriots, lack the foundational courage to call things what they are. And because of that, the lying minority will go out and be loud and misrepresent stuff, misinform stuff, because there's no opposition to that. Because people are afraid, well, if I do this, all these people, who cares? The truth is the truth. My buddy Ron Pertain was wearing a great show on the Glitch in the Matrix today. Tune into the end of that show. Read what we talk about, what's on his shirt. I'm not going to say it. You want to know what it is. It was great. You got to watch the end of the show. Talks about facts and truth. But I'm telling you guys, have courage. Have courage to stand up for God. Have courage to stand up for our flag. Have courage to stand up for our children. And stop being afraid to piss people off. If you have someone coming into the room and they're trying to say you're a white supremacist because they're acting like a black supremacist, say it. Don't be afraid. People need to hear the truth. You see someone acting like a white supremacist, call them a white supremacist. We need to start calling out the corruption and the evil the moment we see it, not later. This is to all the other influencers that are out there, because I'm starting to recognize, even though my channel is small, I'm starting to recognize you guys are following my content. So obviously I'm on the radar for you guys. And I appreciate it. It's a compliment, even if you don't want to throw credit my way. But guess what? You have a responsibility as an influencer, as a broadcaster, to not put things out there for likes, not to put things out there for views and subscriptions, but to be in this damn information war. You think because you're making $10, $20, $30, $40,000 a month off your broadcasts that when this world ends up in a hell in a handbag because the evil cabal took it over because we didn't do anything, that they're going to tell you, hey, you know what? You get to keep all that money. No, you're going to get thrown in the gulag with the rest of us. Doesn't matter how much money you make right now. They're not going to let you keep it. If you're not prepared to sacrifice everything, then understand you're probably not going to keep anything. I love my patriots. I may only have 20 some thousand people that are subscribed to us between the different platforms, but guess what? Your 20,000 people that I know are actually into doing something. You don't just talk. You don't just tweet. You guys are constantly sending me stories of talking to your coworkers, sharing this, making a difference here, starting a movement here, going to start, vlogging here, going to do my own show. It's 20,000 people that mean business. And guess what? I'll take that over 250,000 people that are just going to watch the show and hit the like button. Take that any day. And like I said, it only gets me so energized right now because we're out of time, everybody. Out of time. Do you guys recognize that we're out of time? Satan knows that his number is licked. He knows he loses this fight, and he doesn't care if you believe in him. He just doesn't want you to believe in God. And so you got to understand that. We talk about a lot of issues. We talk about a lot of theories, a lot of conspiracies. They're all important. They all have significance in a certain way. But the most important one is that you recognize that there's a battle between good and evil, and the devil does not want you to believe in God. And he will say and do whatever he needs to do to make sure that you are one less soul that God gets to take to heaven with him. But like I said, you guys, I'm giving you a call to action tonight. Be involved. Run for something local. Run for your school board. Run for your county board. Go. Guess what? If you're like, I don't know what I want to do something, I don't know what to do, Alpha, then you know what? Set up a meeting with your police chief. Call the secretary, set up a meeting, and go ask them questions. Find out where your police chief, not your police officers, the head of the police department, the head of the sheriff department, the sheriff. Go set a meeting up with them and ask them, where do you stand? What are your values? Do you believe in health freedom? And guess what? If you get the answers you like, then say, hey, great. I'm going to support you. I'm going to make sure more people find out about this. If you find out you got a leader in law enforcement that's a liberal wingnut and doesn't value the Constitution, then you know what? You got some work started for you. You better start a political action committee or get involved with one that exists and put the right people in office. But I'm telling you guys right now, I don't say it very often. We have great shows, but I'm telling you, there's a call to action tonight because we are out of time. We are zero on fuel. Bingo. And it's time that you guys start doing your part. It's time that we all carry this yoke on our shoulders, because if we don't, our children, my little girl, my little princess, my older princesses, and my little son that's going to be a king, and all your kids and your grandkids, what are we leaving them to grow up in? Think about that. Not time to be selfish anymore. I see, and I appreciate that. I see Bugs Mom on Rumble Live says, does Alpha have a give, send, go? Yes, I do. And I will do a better job of talking about that. But it's also in the description. But I do have one. It's givesendgo.com/defend Patriot Luna. I think I need to push it more, but I do know I have it in the description. But just to recap, because there are financial hardships that are coming on the crawl bar you see streaming across right there, is patreon.com/The Alpha Warrior Show. Great discounts for my Patreons that are on there for the merchandise in the store. I'm trying to come up with some pretty cool patriotic stuff that's not just patriotic, but stuff that actually looks cool, so you guys can wear it out in town. And it's the fashion police aren't going to flag you down because it's something that looks horrible. Trying to come up with some pretty cool designs. Give me your feedback. If I put something in and you guys like it and you want more of that, let me know. If you have an idea for a design or something you like to let me know, put it in the comment, send me an email, thealphawarriorshow@protonmail.com. I really do try to read those. There's a lot of them. And some of you guys really share some stories. Some of you guys can share a testimony in a paragraph, and some of you guys share a testimony in 4 or 5 pages, but I read them. I really do. I may not always have the time to reply back because there is a lot of correspondence coming in. I thank God for that, and I appreciate you guys for that. But I will at some point try to write back at least a little bit, so at least you know that I did read it. You guys take the time to write me these things, and I want to let you know that I do read them and I do appreciate them. I do read the comments. But with that, I know I kind of went off on a segue there. I don't know. I just felt the Holy Spirit moving through me, and I had to send out I had to get that message out there, you guys. So with that, just remember, call to action, you guys. Become involved, legally. I know you FBI guys want to take my stuff out of context, but become involved. And if you don't know, send me an email, send me a DM. I will personally reach out to you and help you come up with a way to be involved, but become involved. So with that, let's close in a prayer, and we will say goodnight. Dear Father in heaven, I ask that you continue to bring peace to Mr. Ruben Palomares, that you continue to guide him and give him the strength down the path of the mission that he's trying to do to help youngsters and to help people in law enforcement and first responders. I ask that you continue to guide him, Father, and you give him direction. You put the right kind of people on his path. You protect him from people that mean harm to him, and you protect him from people that want to mislead him, and that you give him the type of friendships that he needs to be successful in the mission you have for him. Father, I also ask that you give courage to all of the patriots that are watching right now live, all the ones that are going to watch in the future, that they hear your calling to them and that they have the courage to do what you want them to do. Father, I want to ask specifically that you put your healing hand upon my home, that you protect my little one that doesn't feel too well tonight. She's been struggling. She doesn't feel good, so I ask that you heal her. Ask that you protect my older ones that have flown from the nest and living their lives, that you protect them. Father, I ask that you protect my friends and my family and all those that I care about. I ask that you put your hand on the shoulder of my attorney as we get ready to go into a major court battle in 7 days, and that you bring peace to my heart, Father. I'm tired, but I will continue to fight. We pray and we ask all this in your Son, Jesus' name. Good night, you guys. I will see you Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific or 4 p.m. Pacific for Glitch in the Matrix. Have a good night, everybody.